So, as you can see, I have recently received a physical copy of Freedom Finger from Super Rare Games. So thank you very much to those guys for sending it to me. The game, as I'm about to reveal, comes with a nice little manual, some trading cards, a reversible cover, and something that I personally really like, a cool looking cart. I'm always really disappointed to open a box and see a cart that's just like white with a title or logo. This one is really vibrant and cool. Now, as some of you may know, I reviewed Freedom Finger when it released digitally back in September last year. I'll put a link in the description, but basically I thought it was an awesome game with funny dialogue and quality voice acting, great visuals and a rocking soundtrack, even if that did work against it now and then when you're forced to replay stages. But even if it's not in the top ranks of arcade shmups, the work as a whole really impressed me and I awarded it an 8 out of 10. So I'm really happy that it got a physical release, and given that Super Rare Games' other shmups so far have been Steridon, which I think everyone is aware is awesome, and Graceful Explosion Machine, which I haven't played myself, but I have seen in several top shmups on Switch lists, I really hope Super Rare can keep up the shmup releases, because they seem to have a pretty good eye for what shmup fans are looking for. And not everyone does, by the way. Despite loving physical shmup releases, there are quite a few I've turned my nose up at because they just didn't feel like they deserved the physical treatment. Freedom Finger, as I'm sure you've gathered by now, I do not consider to be such a game. Now, since we're talking about physical shmups and these Super Rare style limited releases, I thought it might be interesting to look at what remaining shmups there are that I'd like to see get the physical treatment in the future. Almost all the big ones have already been snapped up, but there are still a few I'd like to see. So here are 5 of them. First up we have, in my opinion, the Switch's most underrated shmup, Maihana Somakyo, or Azure Reflections as it's known in the West. This uses the Toho characters and puts them in what I've seen referred to as a ballet shmup setting. Basically that means there are very short, almost inconsequential stages, with the focus being on epic multi-stage boss fights that see you zipping your way through some intense and highly unusual and original patterns, many with a kind of floaty air to them that really gives the game a unique feel. There are also some quite unusual systems at work in this one too, which I might delve into in depth one day if I ever get round to reviewing it. It's also packed with little extras, and that is one reason I think it would really merit the physical treatment. There's just so much art and design and story to draw on here, and I think it has the potential to make a really great physical edition. Secondly, we have Anger Force Reloaded. This came out early 2019 and it was the first game I reviewed on this channel. But it's not some sort of misplaced sentimentality that's making me recommend it for the physical treatment. It's that it's a pretty solid game, especially for a first-time effort from Chinese studio Screambox. Yes, it can feel very similar at times to Gunbird, but it's not shameless and feels more like it was inspired by Sidekill's classic rather than an attempt to rip it off. One reason I'd like to see this get a physical would be that it may offer a bit of encouragement to Screambox to make an Anger Force 2, as I feel a bit of refinement to what they did with the first one could lead to something really quite impressive. Third is one we might have seen already were it not for, as far as I'm aware, ongoing complications between the game's developer and their dodgy publisher Dangen. I am of course talking about the excellent Devil engine. I'm not entirely sure what's going on right now, but the last I saw the developer was still saying don't buy the game because Dangen are still not paying them for their work. But when this situation resolves itself, and I really hope it will because the game itself is top quality and it's tragic that the guy who actually made it isn't being rewarded, when that all calms down it would be great to see a physical, as it would surely mark an end to the whole sorry saga and show deserved recognition to a game that was picking up tons of plaudits before this whole controversy began. There was some DLC that was on the verge of being released, so a physical with that included would be a great way to celebrate the return of the game to its owner, and I really hope we can see it one day. For number 4, I'm going with Astabreed. This is fast-paced and frantic and really beautiful. It's got some seriously professional production values, and is another one I may consider sticking a review out for if I ever get the time. I don't think this would really merit the big box collector's treatment, but a nice, sleek, standard physical would be a wonderful addition to the Switch Shmup lineup, and I, for one, would leap at the chance to reacquaint myself with the game. My last choice, however, is one that I think absolutely would be able to fill up a nice collector's box, and it is Jamestown Plus. This is another fantastic game and is almost single-handedly responsible for disabusing me of my negative perception of vertizontals. The pixel art visuals are absolutely lovely, and it's not just their technical execution that's impressive, but the world and atmosphere they manage to conjure up with such variety and imagination. I'm not much of a big box edition collector myself, but with the right bonuses, this is one I definitely consider, as there are so many potential avenues for them to go with the goodies. An art book being probably the most obvious, but basically anything that shows off the design work would be very welcome. I actually find it hard to believe this hasn't been snapped up already, and in fact, I suspect it probably has, and whoever has done so is just waiting for the right moment to spring the announcement upon us. So there we go. Those would be my 5 top picks. They're not necessarily the literal best remaining non-physical shmups, but they are for me the ones most suited to the treatment. Some games I love, like Desertopia and Missile Dancer, feel kind of fine as digital releases. Although, of course, I'd hardly be likely to turn my nose up at them if someone did bring them out. Let me know what you think of the list. Are there others you think should be higher up the queue? Or do you think any of my selections are not worthy? Hopefully Super Rare and the rest will be able to keep us all happy. As ever, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.